Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Rick Unger. Joe's off tonight, and that means that my lovely America's pundit is sitting next to me, Heather Hansen, in the co-pilot seat.
Good to be here. I like it here. We miss Joe, though.
We do good here. You know, Joe could be in big trouble.
No, we can't do it without Joe.
Two Heathers right. Popular television and radio commentator and best-selling author Ellis Hennigan joins the panel. And finally, for the former Navy SEAL, FBI specialist, and president of Continued Services, Jonathan Gillum, joins us tonight. Welcome, everybody. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Well, let's get right to the Daily Download. So Hillary Clinton once again finds herself in the crosshairs of controversy and scandal resulting from emails she sent from her private email account during her term as Secretary of State. According to the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and other newspapers of record, two inspector generals representing the nation's intelligence community and State Department have asked that the Justice Department open an investigation to determine whether Clinton broke the law by emailing classified documents via her email account or breached security. According to the Wall Street Journal, an internal government review found that former Secretary of State sent at least 4 emails from her personal account containing classified information during her time heading the State Department. In a letter to members of Congress on Thursday, the Inspector General of the intelligence community concluded that Mrs. Clinton's email contained material from the intelligence community that should have been considered secret, the second highest level of classification, at the time it was sent. Now, it was just 12 days ago that Clinton appeared on CNN and told the nation that she had done absolutely nothing wrong when using her private email account.
One of the issues that has eroded some trust that we've seen is the issue of your email practices while you were Secretary of State. I think there's a lot of people who don't understand what your thought process was on that.
Everything I did was permitted by law and regulation. I had one device. When I mailed anybody in the government, it would go into the government system. Now, I didn't have to turn over anything. I chose to turn over 55,000 pages because I wanted to go above and beyond what was expected of me, because I knew the vast majority of everything that was official already was in the State Department system.
Now, while there is some confusion as to whether or not the inspectors general referred the matter to the Justice Department for a criminal investigation or an investigation of some other nondescript nature, what is clear is that Mrs. Clinton now faces an additional and potentially lethal challenge to her candidacy. Heather Hansen, is the mere hint of Hillary Clinton possibly having done something that is criminally wrong, is that enough to sink her candidacy?
No. I mean, listen, the Clintons are Teflon. I think that she's Teflon. But I do think Joe Biden might want to be looking at buying some ties, maybe straightening up his shirts, because
a lot of what the talk is today.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's going to be a lot of fallout from this. Whether there's a criminal investigation, it looks now like it might be a security investigation, security clearance investigation.
Yeah, we should actually update the audience on this. Now we're hearing from the Justice Department. Am I correct?
No, the Inspectors General.
From the Inspectors General, that they did not refer this for a criminal investigation. They referred it
a security clearance investigation.
You're the one who's supposed to know this stuff down there. What do you think?
What the heck does that mean? I mean,
you tell us.
A security violation is criminal when you do it knowingly. I mean, she's giving away, or she's putting secret material out there on the
if she has.
Well, according to what we just saw, she did at least 4. I mean, listen, if she did in her time as Secretary of State, there's no way that if she did all those emails that it was just 4. I can guarantee you that if they had all the emails, they had the servers and went through it, they would be able to definitely find more than 4.
Well, I kind of suspect the issue won't even come down to how many. The fact that it would have happened at all. 4 criminal charges is probably, in this case, just as damaging as 40 criminal charges.
No, I'm confused about something. Is it inspectors
Whenever
general?
Ellis says he's confused, we're about to.
Is it inspectors general or inspector general? Because Mr. Unger, I believe you said it both ways.
I said it
in
both
your
ways.
preamble there.
First time I did it, I went, no, actually, I think it's inspectors general.
Because I know it's.
I'm glad you're paying attention to the important stuff.
It's attorneys general.
That's right.
I'm going to tell
no,
you.
It's attorneys general.
When we come back, I'm going to tell you why all 3 of you will need a cold shower.
All right.
They're not necessarily together.
Now, can we get you back on the point of Hillary Clinton?
Yes. Here's the thing. First of all, it's not remotely the issue that all of you all are making it out to be. This is not a, what was the word used? Lethal political issue. Wrong, 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 wrong. This is something that confirms previously held views of people in politics. If you hated Hillary, you still hate her. If you loved Hillary, you still love her. This is inside ball for the media in a way that is not going to change one single vote ever.
I'm not sure that's true.
The polls have changed. What do you how do you explain that? Since April, between April and now, she's gone down in the polls.
She has opponents, is how I explain that.
It's because
people are running against her now.
But see, here's the thing.
Nothing to do with email.
Here's the thing that I think is being missed in this whole thing is, the American, regardless of whether American people want to vote or being, pushed one way or the other, what she has done would have gotten one of those emails when I was in the FBI, would have gotten me an investigation handed right to me. It would have been a counterintelligence investigation. It would have been a possible criminal investigation. I would have either been fired or criminally charged, and then they would have looked at everything. They would have pulled everything I've ever done in the past 8 years when I was in the Bureau, my personal stuff. They would have got warrants for everything and went after me until they buried me. I've seen people do it for something that wasn't even classified.
Right. Heather, let me ask you this. I mean, there's a couple things we do know. We do know that some of the emails were classified or made classified after the fact, and that's not a problem. But you know what? Even if there was one, even just one, that was classified. Ellis here is saying no harm, no foul, but you're not going to tell me that her campaign can go on if she's charged with a federal crime. And it is a federal crime if she did that,
But Governor Rick Perry's campaign is in the midst of 2 indictments, one of which was dropped today. So maybe we'll just have a bunch of candidates who are also being charged with crimes. I mean, it is possible. I don't think it is smart for the Democratic Party to be relying upon her if that's what actually happens. But I do think that they assume that she is going to somehow once again rise up out of the muck.
Ellis, you don't have any suspicions that there's politics at work with these inspectors general?
All of this, of course, is political. The opponents are political. The supporters are political.
Wait, inspectors general working in the intelligence
community?
She's
running for president, of course it's political. But here's the thing that I think you all are all glossing over much too quickly, right? Mm-hmm. The Clintons have been in our lives for something like 30 years now. They are polarizing people. Truly every single citizen in America knows what they think about Bill and Hillary Clinton. And it is, to change that takes something absolutely profound.
Would a criminal indictment be profound?
Not something like, well, let me see, you sent the email on the wrong account. Every single American sends a work email on their personal account, personal email.
Not classified documents.
It's not something that has any political
not classified
documents.
It's piles of stuff. I mean, she has the lowest
ratings since
2007.
But I don't hate Hillary. I support Hillary. Come on. But I'm still going to say, if you are sending classified data,
you thought the same thing yesterday. You think today, don't you?
I think she broke the law. I think she broke the law.
Wait. I got one name for all of you. Respond. Petraeus. David Petraeus. He did something very similar, and he was convicted of he didn't pay too much of a price. It was basically a slap on the hand. But he had to leave his job, and he was convicted of a federal crime.
But he paid the price in the community, in the court of the public opinion.
He's just as popular today as he ever was. He's at the
but he's out of a job.
Listen, if she was convicted of something, then she would be out.
He didn't run. If he ran for office now, he'd do great.
All right, Ellis, answer this. A simple yes or no. If there is a federal charge, I'm not suggesting there's going to be. If there is, can Hillary still run?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a negative, though.
Heather?
Right. It's a negative.
I mean, she can sure run, but I don't know that she can be president if she wins. If she's
Donovan?
I don't. She should go away. That's what I feel.
Well, you think she should go away?
Yesterday.
So I'm not sure that's coming from that. All right, what do you think about Hillary Clinton's email scandal? Go to newsmaxtv.com/comments to let us know. We do expect to hear from you on this. Coming up, the latest on the shooting in Louisiana. Stay tuned. You're watching The Daily Wrap.
Welcome back to The Daily Wrap. 3 people, including the gunman, were killed in a shooting last night in Louisiana. 9 others were wounded, and at least one of those victims is currently in the ICU. The 59-year-old gunman opened fire during a showing of the movie Trainwreck. The gunman, John Russell Hauser, has been described as an angry man who was kind of a drifter. His wife had asked for a temporary restraining order against him back in 2008, and the application described a history of mental health issues. It appears he had been denied a gun permit in 2006, and police are still investigating where he got the weapons used in this case. Rick, once again, we're talking about somebody who is mentally ill, wreaking havoc on a community with a gun, and immediately we go to gun control. Don't you think we should start having conversations about mental health issues and how to deal with the mentally ill in our communities?
I actually do, and I have to say, as much as I would love to see some sort of a gun control resolution that might impact on these things, here the system worked. Here he was denied a gun.
Right.
And it didn't stop him from getting a gun. And this is the problem. You can't blame a system that says you shouldn't have a gun if there's something wrong with you. It works.
Right.
But you know, the truth is anybody can go out on the street and get a gun. If you're going to go after guns, start by going after those.
Right. Well, and we have to fix the system. I mean, it seems as though not the rules. The rules are in place, but sometimes there's holes in the system.
Isn't this obvious? Right? There
I
are
hope
two
so.
issues here, right? Mental ill, gun.
Right.
You put them together, you got trouble, right? Now, he was
And
denied
how do you
gun.
fix it?
He was denied a gun in one jurisdiction, in one state, a number of years ago. In my home state of Louisiana, it's very easy for anity to get a gun.
So you think he probably got it
He
legally?
probably got it from a big box store. We don't know the details of that yet,
yeah.
but there are essentially no regulations in most of those states, and it's tragic. And we are unwilling as a people to come to grips with what is an obvious reality, because these Second Amendment zealots are so absolutist about it. There is no reasonable common sense. They want people to have assault rifles. They want crazy people to have guns.
You're assuming that he got this gun legally then?
Well, we don't know the details
Right,
of that.
but without that assumption, we know he's been turned down. I think that if we start with what you had on your left hand, which is the mental health issues and helping these people, and it wasn't he
It's the
involuntarily committed?
mental health. There's a lot of wonderful people in our society who are mentally ill. We don't need to torture them.
No, absolutely.
The problem comes when those people are given deadly weapons. That's a very bad combination. You cannot talk about one without the other.
So, Jonathan, what do you do? How do you stop that mentally ill American from getting their hands on a gun?
Well, unfortunately, we do have a mental health problem that is not being addressed again and again and again. It reminds me of South Carolina, where 9 people were killed, and they immediately turned it into an issue about a flag that had nothing to do with the fact that there was this church that had been burnt down. People had been hung there, and it was, for anybody who's a white supremacist, that would have been a target. But there was no security set up. There was no preparation or awareness that something could happen here. So this guy walked in and was able to, this crazy guy who was a white supremacist, carried out a terrorist act, went in there and shot these people. What I think we have to come to terms with is exactly the dilemma that happened in Chattanooga. You train Marines, Navy personnel, soldiers and airmen how to become experts on weapons. They should automatically be given a concealed weapons carry permit, because we don't live in the world that we lived in 15 years ago. We live in a world now that's got the threats everywhere, targets are everywhere, and I would rather see people that are highly trained and responsible enough to carry a weapon to be able to have it out there and eliminate this threat as soon as the guy stands up.
Jonathan, we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but first we want to talk about President Obama. He joined the BBC yesterday to discuss gun control.
If you ask me where has been the one area where I feel that I've been most frustrated and most stymied, it is the fact that the United States of America is the one advanced nation on earth in which we do not have sufficient common sense gun safety laws, even in the face of repeated mass killings.
We started to talk about this a little bit before, but how is it when we have the laws, when it comes to what you brought up, the Charleston killing, he got that gun illegally. It looks as though this gentleman from last night got that gun illegally. How are we going to start passing new laws when we can't even uphold the ones that we have, Rick?
It's not even about that. I mean, it's really about the fact that the two sides of this issue in this country have never, and I see nothing in the near future where they're going to get together. Those who oppose guns refuse to respect the cultural element. that guns represent to a great many of Americans and respect that. And those who deeply support guns just don't seem to want to sit down with those who would like to see something done. Now, and I don't know that it makes a difference.
In this instance, we're not talking about tough issues off at the margin or zealots. We're talking about an obvious, simple thing.
But where's your
Crazy
answer?
people having loaded weapons.
But I understand.
Can't
We get it. What can you do about it?
At least can't we agree that we ought to have
And then
background
what?
checks
Well, we
that
do.
ensure that such people don't get weapons, and that when they have
we
them,
do.
we act
We
against
do.
them.
We do have
But
that.
those things there's so many loopholes in it. Those rules are fought every single step of the way by the
But
anti-gun
Alice, these
zealots.
guns are not being bought through the loopholes. These guns,
The vast majority of them are bought legally.
Let me
Vast
just say that.
majority
Let me
of them
say
are
this.
bought legally.
There was a person very recently going around New York hitting people in the head with hammers. Do you know what stopped that guy? A cop with a gun.
Right.
Turned
So we
around
wanna
and
arm
shot him.
The ticket taper, the kid behind the snack bar at the movie.
If they're qualified
and have
to
shootouts
carry.
inside the theater.
If they're
Is that the
qualified
aim?
to carry.
Jonathan,
Shootouts in the
The
theater.
shootout in the theater, the guy's already shooting.
Wouldn't it be better
So it'd
not
be
to
better
have
for
the gun there?
You're never going to do
But
that. The second a gun was invented, it will always be in the hands of bad
I'm not-
people.
Well,
I'm not gonna
Jonathan,
buy
to your
that.
point,
I
we're
don't-
talking
I
about
don't
this
give up.
theater. They had a no guns allowed rule, and every place that we've seen these things happen, the churches, we see
More-
it
you
happen
want
schools.
more
we
guns?
see-
It's a
so
no
where
gun.
there's concealed
More
carry
guns?
laws, we see that crime goes
people
down.
don't follow
We
the
see
rules.
murder
But I do
goes
believe
down.
in gun control. We need to give everybody guns and teach them how to control it.
Well, but
More
doesn't that
guns.
we see that's
More
where crime
guns.
crime
My
rates
gosh.
fall when that happens. I do think that there's something to be said for that. All right, let us know what you think. Go to newsmaxtv.com/comments. Let us know what you think about right to carry laws, whether or not Ellis is right and we just need more laws for people to follow or not follow. Go to newsmaxtv.com/comments
description.
and let us know. Coming up, Donald Trump. Thanks a lot. We'll see you in just a minute.
And welcome back to the Daily Wrap. Yesterday, Donald Trump made his grand appearance on the southern border. He visited Laredo, Texas. MSNBC and Telemundo anchor Jose Diaz-Balart attempted to take the Donald to task over comments he made, of course, about illegal immigration. And the Donald answered in his typical Trump fashion. Basically, he was having none of it.
Feel that what you said when you said that the people that cross the border are rapists and murderers.
No. We're talking about illegal immigration, and everybody understands it. And you know what? That's a typical case. Wait, that's a typical case of the press with misinterpretation. They take a half a sentence. They take a half a sentence. By the way, they take a half a sentence, and they take a quarter of a sentence. They put it all together. It's a typical thing. And you're with Telemundo, and Telemundo should be ashamed.
It does seem fair to point out that the anchor never actually got his question out. He got about a quarter of the way through. Nevertheless, Trump joined Morning Joe today to talk about his time on the border.
When we were there, ABC this evening, the major ABC broadcast was there. They were setting up, and there were illegals running past their cameras and people running after them. It was a mess. They ended up fighting on the ground, and it was like crazy. You have to secure the borders. Now, you can use combinations of walls. You can use fences. You can use, in some cases, the river. In this case, they have, a river, which is certainly helpful. But you have to do something to secure the border. We don't have a country without a border. Without a border, we just don't have a country.
So the question persists. Does Trump continue to resonate with everyday Americans? Well, we sent out our very own Nora DeBroder to find out exactly what you all have to say.
We're in New York City today outside Bryant Park to ask people about 2016 presidential candidate Donald Trump. See what they have to say. What is your opinion of Donald Trump?
Love Donald Trump. I mean, the guy is a genius.
He's very arrogant, he has an opinionated, and he feels entitled.
I like him.
He's an entertainer, and now he's thrown himself into the election and making a name for himself even more. And I don't know, he's divided people. He's gives a voice to some people, and he's upsetting others. So
One of the richest men in the United States. He has a very good reputation worldwide, and he has a very charismatic figure. So I think he will be a great nominee.
Do you think he'll be a good president, maybe better than Obama?
Well, economically, yes. Maybe to the people, to certain like the Latinos and stuff like that, maybe no. But At least to the economy, yeah, I think so.
As of yet, I haven't heard of any policies specifically that he would implement that would help. So far, it sounds like just a lot of rhetoric.
I think he's great. I think he's just telling people like it is. People want to hear that. He's not like a politician. He's like a regular person. He's a businessman. He knows what's good for the country. I just love him.
He talks the talk, and he also walks the walk. He says what's on his mind. He's a yes or no guy, and he eliminates the BS.
He's definitely creating a lot of problems with the Republicans because Republicans need the Latino vote. They need a lot of things going on. They're rebranding, and they're trying to make themselves seem more inclusive, and he's polarizing all of that.
Now, if he becomes the nominee, would you vote for him?
No.
I don't know. That's a good question.
If I was a U.S. Citizen, I would probably consider voting for Donald Trump.
Absolutely not. He goes against all the ideals that I look for in a person to lead this country.
Oh, he definitely has my vote. Well,
Well, that's Trump Watch for Friday. Anything happened that's changed anybody's mind here?
No, what I was bothered by this morning in that Morning Joe interview that we haven't talked about is he said he'd be willing, he's not going to run as the third party candidate as long as the Republican National Committee treats him well.
So in other words,
I
he
felt
put
like
a
it was
gun
a
to their head
terrorist
and
threat.
said, do what I want. Or
Exactly. And listen, he admitted they have treated him well. I think that they'll continue to treat him fairly, but to try to hold that over their heads, I think was yet one more reason for me to question Donald Trump's
Ellis, you're a big
sincerity.
Trump fan.
Well,
I understand.
he's done two wonderful things for me already. He's made my life as a journalist more interesting, and he's messed with the other Republican candidates. Run, Donald, run.
Jonathan, quickly.
No, actually, you're right, and those weren't illegals that were getting tackled. It was actually the other candidates were trying to start a fight with him, and that's what happened. So that's the only way they get pressed. Well, they start a fight with him.
They do. It's like they've all receded into the background. They've given in completely. That tells you something about the other Republican candidates.
Problem.
All right. Well, if you are interested in all things Trump, and we know you are, be sure to catch the Newsmax TV special, Donald Trump at the Border, tomorrow night at 8 p.m. and all next week. But coming up, the GOP wants to defund Planned Parenthood after learning they are selling fetal tissue for stem cell research. There's going to be an interesting amount of stuff to talk about here. This hits a lot of people, so you are going to want to stay tuned to see this report. This is, of course, the Daily Wrap, only on Newsmax TV.
Welcome back to the Daily Wrap. The uproar about Planned Parenthood is not going away anytime soon. House Republicans are outraged by undercover videos that show Planned Parenthood employees discussing manipulating fetal bodies for parts and then negotiating for the sale of those parts. Some Republicans are pushing to cut federal funds from Planned Parenthood altogether. They want a bill to defund the organization for 1 year while these videos are being investigated. However, Speaker John Boehner is saying they need to get all of the facts first.
I want the committees to do their investigation. I want them to do their hearings. And once they have them, we'll decide what's the proper course of action. I could talk about the video, but I think I'd vomit trying to talk about it. It's disgusting.
So if the video is going to make him vomit, why do you think he needs more investigation before he'll defund Planned Parenthood altogether, Rick?
You know, it's so offensively political. In the Senate, McConnell is introducing the same bill into the Senate. Never mind, he voted for the law that made this possible. There was a time during the Reagan administration when there was a moratorium placed on using fetal tissue for stem cell research. He voted to lift the moratorium, and yet suddenly now he's against it.
But Rick, I don't think anyone anticipated what we saw in those videos. You
Well,
know,
what
the
you
use
saw-
of the fetal tissues is one thing, but negotiating over body parts and talking about, and we've discussed this before, there are laws being broken when
Wait,
they are manipulating
let's-
the body parts.
Let's separate something here. Number one, there was nothing in those videos, and I've watched them, the entire one when it was available, what was made available, the second one heavily edited. I've watched them. Never does it appear in any way, shape, or form that they're negotiating to make a profit. So I don't buy that. I'll tell you where I have agreed that there is some culpability. In the first video, not the second, but in the first video, there is discussion about manipulating the body to, to make the parts. Yeah, that is problematic from a legal point of view.
It's illegal.
It is.
It's illegal. It violates federal
If
law.
they're doing
and
that,
it is a
illegal.
major problem. But let's talk about the funding part. Some of the Republican candidates have spoken out. The funding part.
They're always going after the funding for Planned Parenthood. What's new about that?
Well, but if you're talking about definite illegality, Jonathan, don't you think that if there's definite illegality that they should be cutting the funding until they figure all of this out rather than continuing to fund while they do the investigation, which we see takes forever?
Well, you're attorneys. So if you committed malpractice against somebody, are you going to continue to be able to practice while the court says you just committed this malpractice?
Because malpractice is a civil distinction. If you are,
Okay,
if your license is under,
if you injured somebody, or if a doctor injured somebody and they literally killed somebody, and they did something criminal, like the doctor was giving people fake cancer stuff when they really didn't have
Until their
cancer.
license is
As soon
revoked,
as they
yes.
find out that that's going on, and a criminal investigation starts, I don't think that they can continue to
no,
practice.
it's not that clear. Let's be clear about what it is. If something happens in medical, legal, whatever, the state bar, if it's a legal situation, can investigate. The state bar can suspend. They can pull your
But if
license.
a criminal
investigation but no,
starts.
filing a
Prior to a
criminal
conviction.
investigation prior to conviction does nothing.
No.
This is still America, folks.
Let's be clear about what this is, right? I mean, we still have a big debate in our country about abortion, right? And some people, it's a minority, but they feel very, very strongly about it. They're really very adamant.
I
that
don't think it's a minority.
nothing should be connected to abortion is permitted, right?
Yeah.
Most people don't agree with that. The majority of Americans support legalized abortion. Frankly, as long as we're going to have abortions, aren't we better off in using the waste from the abortions for life-saving research, for stem cells, to help other people?
But you can't break the
I
law
mean,
while
why
you do
is
it.
that?
First of all, it's
why
not
is that
waste.
even? Well, it's medical. It's a medical.
It's part of fetal tissue, babies. But
Oh, I understand. You don't. I mean, some people really think that abortion is wrong. Now, the law doesn't agree with that. The majority of Americans think that's the woman's right to choose. But the adamant abortion opponents don't want anything to do with abortion, so they're using this as an excuse to clobber Rick, just as you were saying, to clobber Planned Parenthood, who they've tried to defund for years and years.
What
and
I
years.
worry
It's
about,
political theater.
what I worry about, I'm not the world's biggest abortion fan, but at all. I am respectful of pro-choice. It's not my call; it's your call. But Planned Parenthood, as much as people don't like to say it, does a lot of great work for women's health, having nothing to do with
Amazing
abortion.
stuff. Great
You
stuff.
start suspending their money. A lot of women in this country are going to have absolutely nowhere to go to get health care.
So let me say this one thing, and I don't know what camera I'm in here, but if you can even see this. But see, I was going to have liar, but hashtag liars. Hi, okay, there you go. Because the reality is, our politicians are not leaders; they're liars. They're not doing their job to lead and figure this out.
I love Jonathan's visual
When you
aids.
start talking about the politicians, you've got Scott Walker, who passed the 20-week
Yes, he did.
abortion bill. You've got Ben Carson, who's going on Tuesday to a protest against this.
They're all
Carly
anti-abortion.
Fiorina talking up.
All the
So do you think
candidates on
this
the
is going to be
Republican
the
side.
2016 issue?
No.
No,
I
because the
hope
majority
not.
doesn't want it.
All right, we want to hear from you about this Planned Parenthood scandal. Do you think it should be defunded? Weigh in at newsmaxtv.com. Weigh in at newsmaxtv.com/comments. Let us know whether you think Planned Parenthood should be defunded, whether you think that there should be an investigation, and what you think of the candidates' views. We'll see you in just a minute for potluck.
And welcome back to the Daily Wrap. It is potluck time. This is the part of the show where we go around the table and share our favorite stories of the day. Heather Hansen, you did the cooking tonight. What do you got for us?
Well, you know, we've talked so much in months and years past about what's going on at the VA and all the problems with the VA and the waiting lines and the people who died because they were put on secret waiting lists because there wasn't enough. Well, this week, someone was finally indicted. There was a man named Cathedral Henderson who worked in Georgia, not Phoenix, which is where most of these problems sort of started. And he was indicted on 50 counts of for closing out requests by falsely declaring them completed. So just the type of thing that we've been talking about with what happened in Phoenix. Finally, somebody is facing criminal indictments for this. Now, they asked the people in Phoenix whether or not we were going to see something similar there, and the investigators would neither admit or deny that there are other indictments coming down there. We know these lists are continuing. We know that things are not improving in the VA. Do you think that these indictments are going to make a difference in the overall culture there?
No, but you know what I think will make a difference is all of us talking about this story. Right. Because one of my biggest concerns, look, you know, I know I'm supposed to be the liberal and all that, but when it comes to veterans' rights and care for our veterans, I really do care about this. This is important to me. I've been writing about it for years. I've been talking about it for years. Last year, it got a lot of press when the scandal hit the you-know-what. Right. And then, like all stories, it goes away. And this has not been fixed. In fact, it's getting worse.
Well, and that's why I was so surprised. I saw the story in the LA Times, and someone's finally being indicted. Something's finally happening, and yet there were only 5 comments.
Well,
it's
Rick,
shocking.
Let me put your conscience at ease, if I may. There is nothing illiberal about being concerned about the care of our
I don't
veterans,
think so either,
okay?
but
That is
I
not
hear
a
that a
contradiction.
lot.
But let me say this. While the VA is a huge bureaucracy, and there will be people in any large bureaucracy who perform poorly, the fundamental problem there is one of resources, right? We have had a huge influx of new vets.
Misuse of resources.
Who have all kinds of issues, physical and psychological, and we don't pay enough for it. We got to pay more for it and give them the treatment they deserve.
But there's so much waste. I mean, it's a misuse of resources. It's similar to the gun control argument, where you've got all this money, but it's being spent poorly. I think that there's got to be a real. Maybe they do need more money, Ellis, but I don't think they even know what they need the money for. I think that there's so many issues with the way that the bureaucracy is there, the left hand not knowing what the right hand is doing, and then therefore you have the ability for people to act criminally because there's no alternative.
And
there's
a
no
lot
one looking
of
at it.
really good, hardworking, decent people in there
absolutely.
struggling to give care under very difficult
You
circumstances.
don't want to shoot the people who are doing a great job. That's not the problem. The problem is, as you both are right in my estimation, there's a misuse of resources and there's not enough. You have to have the doctors.
The VA system, is like, it's like roaches, right? You can't just treat, or termites, you can't just treat one part of it in a house and expect one board and expect it to go away. You got to treat the whole house and eradicate. I've said that same thing about ISIS. The VA system, the system itself is broken. It transcends presidents. It transcends Democrat and Republican. It's a broken system, and we need to bring people in that know how to fix and simplify this ginormous waste of money that is killing people and declaring some dead when they're not dead.
Well, I would say the greatest thing that the president could do for his legacy is to use the time he has left to really take this on. You know, our obligation to the veterans is our #1 commitment in this country.
For a guy that didn't lower the flag for 5 days, I don't think he's probably going to do that.
We probably don't disagree on whether he should have lowered the flag or not, but we'll get to that later, because now we are going to read some of your viewer comments, and we begin with C.D. Zamora, who writes, "The NRA has always supported gun laws that prevent criminals and the dangerously mental ill from possessing guns. What we will fight against are laws that violate Second Amendment rights to lawfully possess firearms without government infringement. Criminal and the insane should never possess firearms. Enforce the laws already written." Guys,
except they oppose the background checks that will allow us to figure out whether someone falls into that category.
Yeah.
So they're empty words.
The issue on the background checks, when you match it to the criminally insane, or however you want to put it, I agree with you. If you've got, like this guy, sadly, in Louisiana, he had been committed. There should be a way to trace that. On the other hand, we all agree that just going to see a psychiatrist, you can't have a record. Let's move on to the next. Mr. Trump is saying exactly exactly, and by the way, this is from Henry Holland. Mr. Trump is saying exactly what I would say if I was running for the presidency. There has been too much political correctness in our government and the politicians that are running it. I want to hear the truth, and I care less about the tone. I will support this man as long as he continues to speak out about the failures of our present leaders and politicians. And Ellis is sitting there saying, you go, baby, you go. All right, quickly from Kim, regarding Trump, if he is a real conservative concerned about righting the current wrongs of our country, why has he not said one negative thing about Hillary or O'Malley? He constantly bashes fellow Republicans and conservatives who have the same goals. I'm going to cut it off there because we're running out of time, but that was a good one. We like that one. That somebody who's, well, I'm not going to editorialize. Coming up next, time for Yay or Nay. This is the Daily Wrap. And welcome back to the Friday edition of the Daily Wrap, where it's time for Yay or Nay. Heather, it's my voice and it's your picture. First up, the nation of Turkey has finally agreed to allow the United States fighter planes to launch airstrikes against ISIS in Syria from Turkish soil. The agreement reached between President Obama and Turkey's Prime Minister Erdogan grants access to 2 military bases in southern Turkey that are in close proximity to Islamic State targets. So, will gaining this toehold in Turkey have any real impact on our fight against ISIS, or was this all for nothing, Heather?
I think it will have a huge impact.
They should take my picture now. Oh, they are, they're doing that.
There we go.
Impact.
No impact. I think it's going to have a huge impact.
Some, I mean, it's very difficult. Those relationships with the Turks are hugely complicated.
Taking a long
These people
time
really,
to make
it's a good step forward.
Okay, and John?
It's not going to have any military, it's no strategic effect.
Why? I mean, it puts us much closer to where they're gathering in Syria.
Where are they gathering? This is guerrilla warfare. There's no federal building that ISIS musters in. These guys move in and out of the communities. Yeah, they may get one building here, they may get one leader there, but it's not stopping the overall flow of fundamental Islam in the Middle East. I mean, these are Band-Aids on things that may or may not be a cut.
So let's go to a very serious story now. Butt dialers of the world, beware. The United States Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit has ruled that any calls inadvertently made in any way are not to be considered private conversations. That means any and all information the recipient of the errant call may hear is fair game for any use. Will this ruling make you and your rear end a bit more cautious with your phone, Heather Hansen?
I'm already very cautious with all my
random
dials. I don't.
My
parents do it all the time. I have not. I don't know. I mean, I could be on right now, but I don't think so.
Jonathan?
Well, you use the jitterbug, right? That's the one with the great big numbers on it. Actually, I carry mine in my breast pocket, so
that avoids it.
Yeah.
It sounds to me like a pretty good reporting technique. Please call me with your butts and your other body parts, and I'll listen to everything you say.
Boy, that's ripe for comment. Please call me with your. Okay. Finally, tonight, Democrats.org, the official store of the Democratic Party, is offering up a pretty sweet deal right now on their GOP Debate Watch Party Pack. If you act fast, you can get everything you need to throw your own debate party for the low, low price of just $40. You'll get 4 I Survived the GOP Debates party cups, 4 lapel stickers, and 1 50-sheet bingo pad to play the official GOP debate bingo game with all of your friends. Heather, I know you're going to be having a debate party. Will you be buying one of these awesome party packs that you can get for $40 if you act today?
I think we should buy them and we should play right here live on air while the debate is going on.
Oh, that's an interesting idea.
But you know what's missing?
Should we invite Ellis or no? Not
you know what's missing? I mean, they don't have the towel that we can wipe the tears from all the candidates who won't be able to make it, right?
That's true, actually. Ellis raises a good point.
I'd pay $42 if they'll include the towel.
Will the candidates who are not being allowed to be candidates be sitting at home, playing the GOP party game? Jonathan?
I don't see how that is fair, and that's a whole nother story, but I would rather go out and fill that cup with some beer and hang out with friends and do something useful with my time. I don't think you're going to get...
You're not going to watch the debate?
I may, but I don't think you're going to get a lot of answers or anything out of this particular debate. I just don't... we're too far out.
You got to watch.
I'm going to watch for Donald Trump. That's why I'm going to watch.
See, now...
Chris Christie, Donald Trump, that's going to be
great.
That's
it, isn't it?
I think he stole
That's why everybody wants to watch.
But listen, I want to hear what they have to say, and I think that those that are able to get out some policies finally will get some.
See, I think they should have included an invective package. So when one of the candidates asked Donald Trump, a serious question or raises an actual fact, and Trump is going to react as he does when somebody gives him a fact he can't deal with, and you'd have a list of invectives he could say, like, your mother wears combat boots, or whatever the case may be.
I just feel so bad for the moderators. I mean, what do you do? What do you do?
It's going to be fun. Let's do it every week.
Well, I have already ordered mine, so when you guys come to my house, we'll all have a good time, right? That's it, folks. Cheers. That's all for tonight. Have a great weekend. I'm Rick Unger on behalf of Heather Hansen and the rest of the panel. Thanks for joining us. The Steve Malzberg Show's coming next, so make sure to stay tuned right here at Newsmax TV.